Hey tubers, Madam Roy back once again, back on the 3rd of March, day 3 of this live stream event. Hope everybody's doing really well. I had a pretty busy Sunday myself. I woke up this morning not feeling too well, still having issues with that eustachian tube, and I also had a tickle in the throat, like I had a post-nasal drip, and I'm like, and I don't think this is going to be good for today. You guys can kind of hear it still in my throat, but I am feeling a little bit better. I took a swig of some alcohol earlier. It had a little hot toddy, which kind of killed a bunch of the germs, but still struggling a little bit. So I may be taking quite a few sips of water tonight. One thing drives me crazy. Right before I started this, I was working on a computer, and I had to pull a copy of Office out of one of these miniature jewel cases. I don't know about you guys. I can't stand these things. They are constantly breaking on me. More specifically, the hinges tend to crack really easily. I use them because I can fit two in one slot, basically. If you look at it compared to, say, the older type of jewel case, you can see the difference right there and how thick they are. But these are really cheaply made, apparently, and the older ones seem to be okay. I never used to have a problem with them, but nowadays things keep breaking left and right, driving me friggin' crazy. Stephen Barber hopes I'm doing well and wants to know how the kitties are. Kitties are fine. The kitties are shut out of here right now because Milo is just getting on too many things right now. Maybe about halfway through, I'll let him in. We'll have to see how that goes. Oh, my goodness. Pup Dog asks, what do you think of the 97 to 2002 Lincoln Navigators 5.4? I honestly don't know anything about them. I've never been in a Lincoln Navigator. I don't know if I've ever really seen one up close. I've heard good and bad. I know that the early 2000s Navigators suffered with electrical problems, but as far as I know, the 5.4 was a good engine. Stephen Barber got his Gmom on Office 365. No more 2010. Yeah, I'm still rocking an old version of 2007 myself. I need to look at upgrading soon. I have ways I can do it cheaply, but I just haven't had the motivation. Honestly, a lot of times for quick office tasks, I'll just use something like WordPad or Notepad. 16 people, 13 likes. Awesome. Sonic Wang, thoughts on Toyota Corolla cars? I'm told they last for years. Yeah, they're fantastic vehicles. A buddy of mine had a 1990 Toyota Corolla, and I think he wound up getting rid of it and had about 220,000 miles on it. And the transmission finally gave out, but that was because he was really hard on him. He was one of those guys that would put it in drive, at a stoplight, and he would slam the gas as hard as he could, wind out first, wind out second, and then when it got to third gear, he'd be up to speed and he'd let off on the gas. And then just to maintain speed, he was one of those guys too that would like give it gas, let it up, give it gas, let it up. So he was really hard on transmissions. My Sunday was all right, except for this little cold or whatever I'm having, allergies. I don't know what it is right now. It's been really rainy and dreary, unfortunately. Well, that's the way it's been the last few days. So hopefully we're going to start seeing the sun come back soon. Jonathan Grindle, OpenOffice or LibreOffice is what I use. It's free, and since it's the same as Microsoft Office, yeah, I like both those. I lean more towards LibreOffice. OpenOffice doesn't really update as much, I've noticed. But either one of those works fine, and they will allow you to edit Word, Excel, PowerPoint documents, both of them. Pup Dog wants an update on the Buick and the van. I will do that as soon as I can. You guys got to remember, be patient with me because not only have I been sick, but it has been raining for like the last week, and the few glimpses of sunlight that we've had have been towards dusk, and I just don't have the time to get out there with the camera equipment and film these update videos. But they're coming. Trust me, they'll be coming. Pup Dog. One more from Pup Dog, and then we're going to move on. 101. What's your favorite camera that you've owned? Had to be that Sony CX240. I really loved that camera. It was a bare bones camera, yes, but it was easy to use. The battery held a good charge. And the one thing I really liked about that, it was quick at focusing, and also the videos weren't grainy. A lot of my other cameras, including my current Canon Vixia, no matter how much light I have, I notice that the video output is always grainy. So I may go back to one of those Sonys again, but for now, money-wise, I can't really make any changes at the moment. I-386 says, tornadoes in Georgia and not like out west in Oklahoma and Texas. They can be bad, but not usually. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. I know that different parts of the country right now, especially in the Midwest and the deep South, are dealing with worse weather than we are. We're pretty blessed here in Virginia that all we've pretty much had is rain, and not really heavy rain either, just kind of like a steady rain. The weather in this area changes every 5 minutes. If you don't believe me, wait 5 minutes and ask someone else. They'll probably tell you it's sunny after I told you it was rainy just 5 minutes earlier. Jonathan Grendel, Matt, any plans to upgrade the CPU in your main rig since the older CPUs have gone down in price? Probably not. Honestly, I'll probably use this computer for another year or two and then just upgrade to something newer. Honestly, what is this one rocking? I know it's an i7. I should know something. Man. This one's got the i7 4970, which is runs at 3.6 gigahertz, and I think can turbo boost up to like 4 gigahertz. Really, this is more power than I would even need. But I do have another computer that I got that I'll probably show you guys in a future video. It's another Dell XPS. This one is an 8300 that I got on trade-in, and that one may be getting a CPU upgrade. This one has a 4th gen i7. That one has a 2nd gen i7. So I might go ahead and see what we can do with that computer. The Mississippi Playhouse says, we like open office equals free and a prior heavy office user, easy transition. Yeah, there you go right there, open office. And again, me personally, I either use Notepad. I've been using LibreOffice quite a bit recently, but they both work very well. Nick Roberts says, build a new PC with an AMD CPU. No AMD CPUs. I don't know. Yeah, maybe a Ryzen build. I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I know you guys really like my tech related videos, and you guys are going to see much more of those once my parents go on the cross-country trip, because then I'll have the house to myself and I won't get interrupted every 5 minutes. I-386 said, I fixed my desktop from booting slow. Removing Acronis True Image fixed the problem. I will use the boot USB of Acronis. You must have it running in the background, because if I'm not mistaken, Acronis True Image, once you install it and if you allow it access to your boot boot sector, I should say, it loads a lot of its programs in the background. That's probably why you were booting really slowly. I never keep Acronis True Image or any of the Acronis products installed. What I usually do is if I need it, I'll install it, use it for the task that I need it for, and I'll immediately uninstall it. That way it doesn't actually affect my hard drive. XPS 8300. Yes, that other one is an 8300. This again, it's a second gen i7. I don't remember exactly what processor is in it, but I know it's a quad core. It's a quad core and then a hyperthread quad core. So it's like this one, 4 cores and then eight total with 4 so 4 logical cores and 4 actual cores. You get a total of 8 cores basically. Scott Keeley goes, Rise and build is kind of pointless of a pointless expense unless you need the CPU power. I'm not sure. Again, we'll see what happens. I mean, if I see, here's the thing. If I get somebody that wants to do like a super chat donation or donation to the channel, and they tell me go ahead and use this money for a specific task like a Ryzen build, then yeah, I'll be obligated, and I will do that. But for me to use my own funds right now, unfortunately, I have other expenses, other priorities at the moment that go on and above actually building a new computer. And unfortunately, there's really nothing I can do about that. Tyler's here. Hey, Tyler, nice to see you. He goes, I bought a MacBook Air brand new just to take with me. I used them before to edit videos. They were good, but the SSD though, and the read and let me see, the SSD and the read and write is not wise. Oh, okay, I know, I get what you're saying. I remember we had this conversation. That one was a solid state hard drive only, and if you read and write to a solid state hard drive frequently, you will degrade that drive quickly. It's not like a conventional hard drive. Conventional hard drive can have millions and millions of read and write cycles. In other words, you can write data, read the data, rewrite to conventional hard drive to your heart's content. You won't affect the hard drive. But with an SSD, if you do the same thing, let's say you move data around a lot, you rewrite to that drive, that SSD will degrade very, very quickly. Nick Roberts asks, best app to test an SSD? It depends. I usually use Crystal Disk Info. That usually tells me the current state of the SSD or any hard drive and how well, how healthy it is. And then Crystal Disk Mark, I think it's called, same company. You can use that to test the read and write speeds. Crystal Disk Mark is what it's called, M-A-R-K. Here's a link to it if you guys are interested. I usually download the regular version. The Shizuku edition is cool, but it's a little bit bigger, and I don't really need that anime background, especially considering I'm not a big anime fan to begin with. Jonathan Grindle said the Mac is easier to learn than Windows. I've heard that for people that actually started in the Mac world and try to transition to Windows, they say that it's much more difficult than going from well, how can I say this? Yeah, it's more difficult from going to the Mac realm to the Windows realm than vice versa. Honestly, I've used both, and I still prefer Windows-based PCs. I'm not a big fan of the Mac OS, at least the Mac OS 10, which is Linux-based. Now, if you go back older, OS 8, 9, even 7, I was actually a big fan of Macs at that point. I liked the way those operating systems were designed. It seemed to be you had more control over the operating system itself. Apple didn't put so many roadblocks into it, and basically things that you can't change. I find the same problem with iOS versus Android. Android is infinitely more customizable than iOS is. Tyler goes, Windows is just so darn buggy compared to Macs. It's funny because I don't find that to be the case at all. As a matter of the fun fact, I got this computer, my current Dell XPS 8700 in 2014, and I ran it on Windows 8. I guess it was about 6 months until Windows 10 came out, and I upgraded to Windows 10. And do you know that I'm still running that on that original Windows 10 install from, I guess it would have been late 2015, early 2016, so 3 years plus, and I still have a stable installation of Windows 10. Now, yes, I have heard people tell me that that's not what they've been able to live with. In other words, people have told me that, yeah, after a few months that Windows 10 degrades to the point where they have no choice but to reinstall it. It all depends on how you maintain your computer. If you run programs like CC Cleaner, and yeah, I know a lot of people don't like CC Cleaner, but that's the one that I like to use. Clean those cookies and have a good registry cleaner where you can clean all the registry out, then there is no reason that your Windows 10 installation can't last for 3, 4, even 5 years. Windows 10 is a lot more stable than even Windows 7 or Vista was as it pertains to longevity. Mark Covington's here. He goes, hey, Matt, do you think PC Mover Ultimate may be a good program for moving all my files to another hard drive? I've never actually heard of that one before. I would do some more research on it before buying something like that. See if you guys can help Mark out a little bit. PC Mover Ultimate. Anybody ever heard of that one? I know I haven't. Oh, here we go. Tyler goes, another Seagate died. Another Seagate died on Windows 10 build. It was a 750 gigabyte 2010 hard drive. Should have lasted longer. It's an older Seagate. Had to order a new Western Digital Blue for it. Those darn Seagate hard drives. I'm telling you, you and about 20 other people have told me the same thing. Now, granted, pre like 2012 Seagate hard drives were still pretty reliable, but all the modern ones, the newer Barracudas, stay away from them. They're total garbage. As a matter of fact, I have that iMac downstairs that you guys saw in an earlier video, or an earlier vlog, I should say, and that one's rocking a Seagate, like 250 gig Seagate hard drive, and that's going to be the first thing that I actually change out when I start working on that. I'm not looking forward to it because if I'm not mistaken, that computer, I actually have to take the glass off and the screen out to get to the hard drive. So we'll see if I even want to tackle that little job. Stephen Barber goes, I like HGST and Western Digital way more, but never had a Seagate die on me. I am shocked. I've had a couple die on me, not my personal hard drives, but ones that customers have brought to me. I absolutely agree with HGST. I had quite a few of their 2 terabyte enterprise or server grade hard drives, the ones that are rated to last about 2 million hours, which we'll never live that long to see it. But yes, they are very well made drives. Highly recommend them. The ones that I've been getting are X server drives. I'm getting them for a very good deal, pennies on the dollar. And they're 2 terabyte. They're all the same hard drives, HGST 2 terabyte SATA 6.0 or 3.0, 6.0 drives. And most of them only had between 24 and 27,000 hours. So they have a lot of life left in those drives. Jamie asks, are you still with your girlfriend? No, sadly, we broke up a long time ago. I'm not with anybody at the moment. So, hey, if anybody's interested in my area, look me up and we'll see if we can make it work. Eric Brunhammer says, I had a dream last night that I lost a ton of data on a 2 terabyte Seagate drive. I don't have a 2 terabyte Seagate hard drive. Well, I guess that's how you know it was truly a dream. But he says he has a Eric Brunhammer says a 4 terabyte drive that's an HGST. I would still do backups, but yeah, you're probably pretty good with that hard drive. Teller goes, I got a Maxter I bought used on eBay with 40,000 hours on it in 2008, and it's a 500 gigabyte SATA. You guys can read the model number if you want to. You know, there's something funny about Maxter because for many years, early Maxters were very good and very reliable up until about 2009-ish or 2000. Well, no, 2006 is to when they started having problems. When they transitioned over to SATA hard drives, and those early SATA drives, and not just Maxter, we're talking about all of them, were actually converted IDE drives. You ever notice on those early SATA drives, a lot of times you'll have the SATA port, data port, you'll have the SATA power port, and then on the other side you'll have a regular 5-pin Molex power port. Well, that's because those were actually converted from IDE drives, and those had a lot of problems. Mainly the controller boards would go out on them. 21 watchers, 25 likes. Thank you guys so much for helping me out. And again, if you guys are so inclined and you want to give a super chat, that all goes to helping the channel out, help me bring better content to you guys. Stephen Barber says, I should say, I have been impressed with Hitachi. My old HP Pavilion P6720F had that drive as its factory drive, still going strong since 2009. I honestly think they're similar to, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think HGST absorbed Hitachi and the IBM DeskStar line because they all look very similar. And recently, I've not seen any Hitachi or IBM DeskStar hard drives. I believe I read somewhere that's what happened. Pup Talk goes, I would super chat, but I don't have a credit card. That's totally fine. You guys are you have no obligation to give me a super chat. I don't like to solicit funds from anyone, but the only reason I put it out there is I know some people want to donate, and I don't want you guys donating ridiculous amount of money to the channel. If you can give $1 or $2, that's fine, but that's about it. Nice t-shirt, Matt. JC Wellen. Yeah, honestly, this is one I got from Penny's, JC Penney's, a few weeks ago. It was on the clearance rack. Little Levi Strauss action going on there. I don't know if you guys can read it or not because everything's like a mirror image, so it's kind of like Ival Surats. At least that's the way I see it. This is an LT. It's actually a large, tall. And if I stand up, you guys can see that it's actually pretty long. It's actually longer than it needs to be. And if I hold my hands up, it's still long enough. So I am officially, hey everybody, I am officially in a large shirt. I can still wear an extra large if I have to. I've actually had to donate or pass my 2X shirts down to people. I can't even wear the 2X shirts anymore because they're so baggy. I don't think I'm going to be getting any smaller shirt size wise, though. Shirt size wise, man, that's a tongue twister. Mainly because of my height. I'm in a large shirt right now, and to go any smaller, like if I went to a medium, I don't think it would be long enough. So I'm all right with that. Hey, it's a lot better than the 4 and 5X shirts that I wore at one point in my life. Wow. Okay, we got a lot of comments here real quick. Nick Roberts asks, Matt, do you think you will ever see PCs as small as, say, 3.5-inch hard drive? They actually already have them, believe it or not. Raspberry Pis are about that small, and technically they are PCs. They run some type of a Linux, some distro of Linux. Will they run any PC games with 2 terabytes, 32 gigabytes of RAM, and a really fast 10 gigahertz CPU that uses 5 watts of power? It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, things get smaller and smaller and smaller, but you have to remember there's a trade off. When things get that small, they tend not to last as long because they still create about the same amount of heat as a full size PC. Hence why all-in-one systems maybe only last on average about 2 or 3 years because they literally cook themselves. They're just too small for their own good. So I tell all my customers, all my friends that if you have the space for a full-size desktop, get it. It's worth it. It'll last a lot longer than, say, an all-in-one PC or even a laptop. Pup Dog asks, what are the best thrift stores in your area? We have Savers, Deseret Industries, and Mountain Thrifts. I have heard of Savers. Billy Core, I think in one of the Carolinas, north or south, can't remember which one he lives in, but he used to go to Savers a lot. We don't have any of those here. CHKD, the Children's Hospital, the King's Daughters, is one of my favorites. They actually have a monopoly in our area. Has to be at least 20 or 30 stores. I also like going to the DAV, the Disabled American Veterans thrift stores, although they tend to be a little bit higher priced. So those two are probably my favorites. We have some like independent stores, thrift stores, the JOCC in Virginia Beach. We also have the usual Goodwills, which are probably my least favorite. They are really expensive unless you hit them on 50% off day. And if you don't know what that is, at Goodwill, they have a color system, and whatever, say either a yellow or a red tag might be 50% off 1 week. 1 week it might be the yellow tag, the next week it might be the blue tag. But I will tell you this, I do like the Goodwill distribution center over in Hamptons, more specifically the computer section, because I can get some good deals there. And I have gotten quite a few good deals there in the past. JC Wellen says, it's cool, man. You're looking sharp. Well, thank you. I care more about what I look like now that I've lost the weight, although I still need to get a haircut. I know I gave myself a manicure and a pedicure the other day, but I still can't do my own hair. It's just really too hard. And my hair, I'm 35 now, and I think I'm good as it pertains to baldness because, I mean, look at this. It's like a mop. It really is. I can't do anything with it. And there was a little bit of a doubt there because baldness runs on my dad's side of the family, but not on my mom's side of the family. And they do say that you tend to get your baldness genes from your mom's side. So I think I'm good. I'm hoping that I don't go bald. That's one thing. I mean, can you imagine what I would look like as a cue ball? Ah! No, I don't want that to happen. All right, chat window, come on. Jonathan Grindle, he says, I dislike the Goodwills because they throw away the computers that are working. They can sometimes in certain areas where they don't have like a distribution center where we are. A lot of times they will, especially if they're older computers, Windows XP, Windows Vista computers especially. They won't even bother working on them. They'll just take them and chuck them in the bin because they're deemed too old for resale. And I do understand that because they don't placate to the enthusiast market. They're there to make money. So what they need to do is get the computers that they can sell easily. So yeah, it's really unfortunate that they do that. But in my area, luckily, at the distribution center, most of those computers will still make it out on the floor. They'll be sold as is, bare bones, what have you. And they're usually a decent price. They still ask more for these bare bones computers than, say, a CHKD thrift store or a Savers would, but generally it's not a ridiculous amount. We're talking maybe 20 to 30% more. So it's doable. It's doable. Paul Kane says, Goodwills by us will recycle them a different, what does it say? A different channel. They worry about issues with data theft. Yeah, that was a big problem years ago with Goodwill. Hence why if you go into a Goodwill, you won't, a regular Goodwill, we're talking about a retail store, you will not see computers themselves, like bare bones or as is computers, because they have to go through the refurbishment process and they have to be resold totally as a refurbished computer. And that is because back in the early 2000s, Goodwill actually got sued by somebody who had their information stolen from a computer that they sold. So that's actually what happened there. Sonic Wang goes, here in New Zealand, shout out from New Zealand, they don't take computers because if they are donated computers, they recycle the metal from them for money. That's unfortunate. And yeah, there are some computers out there that are old and they're not really particularly valuable. Yeah, I could see you wanting to recycle those for the metals, the precious metals, and make money. Hey, everybody has to make a living doing something. But newer systems, like there's this guy I watch on YouTube, E-Waste Ben, and I think he's a really good guy. I'm telling you, he amazes me as to how quickly he can process through a computer because he's first and foremost a scrapper. But I find it really upsetting because he has scrapped out some really nice Windows 7 systems that I would have been able to turn into a really nice computer for someone. But to each his own, his and her own, people, again, you have to make a living. And if he can, at the end of the day, if he can make more money scrapping that computer out and selling it on for the precious metals, then more power to him. Robert Jones says, the Sears I worked at would throw away so much good tools, RC planes, it made me sick. Yeah, unfortunately, the Sears around us are all gone. They all went out. And actually, I went into a few of them on the last few days because I wanted to see about getting their computers. But unfortunately, they have to return the computers to the main headquarters, probably for safety purposes, because of the data that's on them. And believe it or not, I found out they were repurposing a lot of these computers, and they were really old systems. If you check back, let me see if I can share a video here with you guys. Let me see if I can find it first and foremost. I did a vlog from the Sears that closed in Hampton a few months back, and they actually showed I showed some of the computers that they were repurposing. They were, I think, Dell Optiplex 780. So we're talking about computers that are pushing 10, 15 years old now. Let me see if I can find that video. Here it is. Takes time now. My internet's going to be really slow. You guys can click the link and you'll see that video. It's called Another Sears Bites the Dust. I like the little thumbnail I did for that. That's one of my better thumbnails. And if you guys know me, I am not that good with taking pictures. My facial expressions don't really always work out, and that has a lot to do with my Asperger's, and a lot to do with my issues with upper motor skills. Like I can't. If people ask me to smile, and this is probably my best smile. It's pathetic. I can't smile. If I practice it for a few minutes in a mirror, I might get something that would be considered passable. But that's why a lot of times in family photos and school photos, you will not see me smiling just because it's terrible. I-36 says, I bought a computer once from Goodwill. It had pictures and someone's info on it. That is not Goodwill. That is not Goodwill fault. It booted up to get the product key using Bellerk. I'll have to remember that one. Then I formatted and reinstalled. That's good. I'm glad that you did that, because there are a lot of unscrupulous people out there that would not do that, that would probably steal that information. Over the years, being a computer tech, I've seen it all. I actually got a computer years ago from a thrift store. I can't remember which one. Don't ask me. And it had everybody, had the person's previous owner's information, including tax documents, Excel spreadsheets with social security numbers and everything like that. Um, but I didn't do anything with that. I did the right thing. I formatted that hard drive, low level format that hard drive in that case, because that was, I believe, a 486, and that's what you did back then. You low leveled them. Pupdog 101 says, I'm on the autism spectrum too. Yeah, it's not fun sometimes. My Asperger's, and I don't always like talking about it, but I will if somebody asks. Um, People with Asperger's like me, we are sociable, but just to a point. There are times where I have to be alone, whereas a normal person that's not a non-autistic could probably be out at a party all night, drink, be merry, do everything. I can't do that. I have my times to where I can spend with other people and socialize, but the time limit, there's a time limit to it. In other words, it might be an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours if it's a good day for me. And then I just have to say my goodbyes, go home, and just spend some time by myself. And that can be off-putting to some people. I mean, I totally get it. If you're not autistic, you're not going to get this. But if you are, then you probably know what I'm talking about. Let me go back, because I think I missed quite a few comments. You got, and I love the fact that you're putting them here, but they're all coming in spurts right now. Paul Kane says Yuma. I'm assuming Yuma, Arizona. Sears is gone. The one near us hangs tough. Yeah, there are some out there still, and don't get me wrong, it is sad to see them go. I mean, Sears was such an iconic brand, Craftsman tools. But Sears just could not adapt to the changing economy. People shop online, and if you guys remember Sears, if you even go to Sears' website now, it's abysmal. I mean, the products are not things that people want to buy, and it looks like it was something out of the 90s. Oh, sorry about that, everybody. I'm still fighting something, so my throat is really, really dry at the moment. Okay. I do have to say Sears has gotten a little bit better recently. I mean, it looks more resembles like the Best Buy website. As a matter of fact, I think all these um, department stores are using the same host or domain, because they all look very similar now, which is a good thing. It makes it easy for novices to go online and do their shopping. Michael Gardner says, I spend my time with a few people. That's the way I like it too. I'd rather have a few close friends than have a large group of friends. Again, pertaining to my Asperger's, that's pretty much what it is. Stephen Barber goes, I miss Kmart. That was my favorite store from my childhood. I like Kmart too. The one that's closing in Wellsville, if you guys remember that, it was so sad, because that was the only department store left in that town. And they really had a lot of good things, including the Little Caesars. That was one of the Kmarts that had Little Caesars in it. It was a really good one too. And I remember, excuse me, getting some really good clothes there. I was able to get some shirts, and I love their brand. Everlast shoes. Sears sold them too, but I had a pair of Everlast shoes I absolutely loved, and it is very unfortunate, but retail tastes are changing. People are shopping online. They're not going into those brick and mortar stores anymore. So really isn't too much you can do about it. It's just really sad. Oh, hold on. Scott Kearley sent something. Let me see if I can play this. Hope you don't mind.
Pepto 101 says I'm on the autism spectrum too. Yeah, it's not fun sometimes.
That's really cool. It looks like he filmed it on an old camcorder. It has or it's an effect. I don't know how he did it, but I like it. It's really cool. It makes it look like you filmed it on an old camcorder. Is there any way I can share this with you guys? Hang on a second. I don't think there's a way to share it, but that was really, really cool. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. What we got? 21 watchers. We're at 40 minutes right now. I'm going to try to get at least another 5 or 10 minutes in, but I'm struggling. I'm honestly struggling right now. I was watching. Scott Kearley sent a little snippet of the live stream, and it looked like he filmed it with an old camcorder, something tape based. Let me know what you did. It's a VHS recorder app. That's actually really cool. I've never seen that before.
Pepto 101 says I'm on the autism spectrum too.
Let me see. Yeah, unfortunately, there's no way I can share that with you guys, but I appreciate that. That was fun. Sonic Wang says, "Let's hit 40 likes." That would help me out tremendously. Believe it or not, the likes actually help me out more sometimes than the views. When YouTube sees that a video is liked, then they're more apt to promote it via their algorithm. It's weird. I know. I don't necessarily understand how it works, but it does. Pup Dog asks, what is the main camera that I use now? Well, most of the vlogs I film with my Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus here. What I'm actually using to film the live streams is a Logitech C920 Pro. This is a webcam that I picked up from, I think it was the DAV thrift store in Virginia Beach. I got it for about $8, $9. And this is a $100 camera. This is almost their top of the line. They do have one that's a little bit better. It's the C922 Pro. And I would like to get my hands on that because unlike this camera, that one can record and live stream 1080p 60 frames per second, whereas this is restricted to 30 frames per second. Though I still have to say this camera does a phenomenal job. It has stereo audio on there, which is decent. I mean, I still want to get a better microphone set up in the future. But from what you guys have told me, the audio quality is pretty decent. Well, thank you. Class Mobile says it has been nice knowing you have a good life. I try to portray that. And is it all peaches and cream? No. I mean, I have my bad days. I have bad things happen, but for the most part, yeah, I am happy, and I like being able to share that with you guys, and I hope you guys are too. And yeah, there are those trolls out there, more than we'd like to admit, but we press on with life. Pup Dog 101 is going to do a live stream after this. So if you guys have a chance, go ahead and check out Pup Dog 101's live stream. Thanks for the shout out, Matt. You're welcome, Pup Dog. I appreciate it too. Sean MDJR asks, when did you start getting into computers? ever since I was a kid, I loved anything to do with electronics, computers, what have you. I have to say, my first experience with a computer was probably in elementary. No, I take it back. It was in, was it nursery school? Nursery, not nursery. What's the one between nursery school and kindergarten? What do they call it? Pre-kindergarten, something like that. We had an Apple II. It was an Apple II Plus, not a 2E. We weren't blessed enough back then to have it. And I remember playing the Oregon Trail, the 1985 version of the Oregon Trail, and I absolutely loved it. And ever since then, I was hooked on computers. I went through a time where I actually collected old radios too. As a matter of fact, I need to look into getting those out of my storage and have you guys see them because they are really cool. These are like old 1950s, 1960s tube style radios. And as the weather starts to get nicer during the spring, I'm definitely going to go ahead and do that because I think you guys will find that really interesting. Mr. Jimmy says, I also have Asperger's syndrome. That's interesting. I think we all kind of gravitate towards each other because of that. And I've been looking at getting into some groups locally with other people that have the Asperger's syndrome. It's really hard sometimes to talk to people, normal people, as I guess we would call them, because they just don't get us sometimes. They don't understand that sometimes we have to do something or we have to get away from a situation because we just can't handle it mentally. It's really hard. It really is sometimes. Paul King goes, yes, dig out those radios. They're actually in that closet right there. Behind there is a little storage, and they've been in there too long, honestly. I'm afraid that they might have degraded at this point. They're mostly like plastic 1950s, maybe early 1960s tube style radios. A lot of Zeniths, some GEs. I have a couple of Bakelite radios in there too. Believe it or not, they're actually probably worth. They're definitely worth quite a bit of money. I had old radio books to help me price them, but that was back in the 90s, and I'm pretty sure they've increased in value since. Yes, Pup Dog said something I totally agree with. He goes, I hate YouTube Studio Beta. I liked Creator Studio. I agree. Creator Studio had a lot more features than the regular Studio does. But I don't think they're going to totally get rid of Creator Studio. I think they're going to bring it back in one form or another, from what I understand. Paul Kane says, doesn't matter if the radios work, the design is classic. Yes, they are. And I'll probably be pulling some of them apart. Believe it or not, I actually have a whole box of new old stock tubes. So if some of the tubes have gone bad, I can replace them. I actually got that from my old tech school that I went to when they transitioned from the electronics class to computer class. They were going to throw all the stuff out, and I just took it home. I said, no, don't throw it out. I'll find a use for it. All right, tubers, I'm going to do a few more questions. I'm going to end this around 50 minutes in because I am just getting very tired and I can feel my voice slipping. We got 35 likes and 20 watchers, so not quite 40 likes, but you know what? I'm not going to be obsessive compulsive about it. If we don't get to 40 likes, that's fine. I'm not too worried about it. CFWW says, I-386, I had a CB in 76 during the energy crisis. I had a CB. Now, you have a few years on me, of course, but I had a CB radio back in the 90s. Mine was, I actually had two of them. I had the older 23 channel, and then I think it was the 42 channel CB radios. And I had a friend that lived maybe about 10 miles from my house, and we could barely reach each other, but we could, and it was really cool. And yeah, if you live on a flat plane, you could probably reach somebody 50 miles away, but where I lived was in the mountains, and you were lucky to reach somebody 10 miles away. But I remember it was really cool. After school, we used to, his name was Doug, by the way. We used to get on the CB radio. We would talk, we would chat about, the girls in school, or we would talk about, things that were coming up. And it was really cool because, yeah, we could talk to each other on the phone, but what's the fun in that? I mean, to pick up the phone, dial it, and talk? No, it was more fun to use the CB radio. All right, tubers, that is it for tonight. You can hear I'm losing my voice. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Stay tuned for the live stream. It's going to be tomorrow night, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as always, have a blessed day, everybody.